if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. And I tell people all the time, it's not about the failure or what didn't go right. It's what did I learn from it and how can I change, whether it's my surroundings, whether it's how I'm doing things. How do I learn from that?
Welcome to the Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Jane.
Welcome to the show, friend. My best friend Chantell is with us today, and we are going to talk about those lies we tell ourselves. Have you ever felt alone, like you're the only one struggling and everybody else has their lives completely together and you're still doing your best just to get out of bed every morning and to get food in the house and to show up always happy at work? Like, I can do this. Did you know that you're not the only one? And there's others of us that struggle and try to find ways to be our best self at every moment. But inside, we're kind of cringing and dying, you know? How do we bring our insides back to life? Chantel's going to help us with that. But before we get started, we're going to go quick word from our sponsor. When we come back, we'll be right back.
This is Adam Adams, co-founder of Optimized LLC, where we take the guesswork out of your health. If you're feeling exhausted, struggling with weight, or just not feeling yourself anymore, your hormones might be the problem. And that's why we test, not guess, analyzing your blood work to pinpoint exactly what's holding you back. At Optimized LLC, we help you rebalance your hormones, boost energy, and reclaim your life. Don't settle for normal, aim for optimized. Just go to optimize.com to book your free introductory coaching call. It's a free call to help you take the first step toward feeling your best.
All right, let's do this because this is exciting. And, you know, when I talk to you, I get so excited because we have that same message. You know, we can change. We can have a better life without changing everybody around us. So help our friend here with us have one of those days where everything feels right.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Laura. You and I could talk all day long about this topic specifically because I do think that we need to normalize that conversation of, hey, none of us have it together. And so I think we have this misperception because what we're told that perfection exists, which you and I both know it doesn't, is what we should really achieve to acquire. And I just don't believe that's true. I don't think perfection exists. And I think we've been banging our heads against the wall for too long. And we need to kind of take a step back and say, wait a minute, who created these rules to begin with? And why am I living by them? Why am I not doing what I personally want to do?
Oh, I'm so with you because so many times it's like, I got to make a lot of money or I'm not good. I got to be thin and healthy or I'm not good. I've got to be smiling all the time or I'm not good. And, you know, deep inside, I always felt not good
Wow.
because I was faking those things. So if you're faking it, maybe I'm not good until I learned how to talk to myself different, you know, and changing it to I am good to start with something. I am good. And these are the things that are good about me. How do we make that reframe?
That's a thing I've been trying to figure out for my entire life. And I'll tell you a story just real quick. You know, I grew up in a world where success was all around money and title, right?
Hmm.
So if you had money and title, everything else was perfect. You had the white picket fence, the perfect family, the job, everything. And throughout my career, I was so focused on that outcome of success and title that what about the journey? I never appreciated the journey or enjoyed the journey because it was just so singularity focused on that outcome. And then when I got there, I was like, wait, this is it? This is it. I thought everything. And then my whole life blew up because I had so much expectation on that outcome that all my problems were going to be solved. And then I look back and I go, what happened to the last 20 years of my life? It's gone. And I didn't appreciate it. You know, my daughter was 5 when my whole world blew up. And I'm like, wait, I don't even know what she ate for lunch because I was so engrossed in my career because that's where my identity was. And I think if we don't start changing that narrative, a lot more people are going to get to that pinnacle of their life and be like, this is it. So, how do we change that, enjoy it along the way? We can still achieve for that, but how do we enjoy the journey at the same time? And I think that that's a really important conversation we need to have with everyone.
How, and titles are just titles.
Yeah.
They don't mean happiness. They don't mean success. They mean this is what you need to do. And I willingly stepped out of executive leadership because I wasn't happy. I wanted to do something that I felt made a bigger difference in the world. And that doesn't mean you have to. That's what made me happy. But if you love what you do in that role, enjoy it.
Mhm.
Just don't make it your identity.
Well, and I think that's what happens. We get so engrossed in our careers or our personal lives. And everybody talks about balance. Let's balance the two. Well, balance doesn't exist. And if anybody tells you it does, they're lying. I like to refer to it as integration. How do we integrate our personal life and the things that we love along with our passions and our work? I tell people all the time, 8 hours out of a day is a long time to be miserable. And if that's what's happening to you, make an intentional decision. Your circumstances don't control your life. The decisions that you make around your circumstances is what controls your life. And I think being very intentional in those things is important. And people are gonna come back and be like, "Well, I need a job. I have to do this." Totally get it. I totally understand. Then that goes to mindset. What is your mindset when you're going to work? Are you already mad before you get there? Are you going in with, to your point, I am good. I'm gonna have a great day. I wake up every morning and the first thing I say to myself is, I'm gonna have a great day. I woke up breathing, it's gonna be a great day. Why? I'm setting my mindset. And then no matter what happens throughout that day, I get to go back to that and be like, hey, but I'm still having a great day. And there's things that I've tried to do over the last 10 years as my own growth journey of
Mhm.
how can I be very intentional with my time? How can I take all the things that I were taught as a kid, and that's my 9 lies, how can I take those and reframe them where they work for me? Like, you have to say yes to everything. No, you don't. Well, I thought you did, right? So, PTA mom, here I am. I'll do it even though I'm drowning. How do I learn to say no to things that don't fulfill me, that give me purpose? And that is reframing in my mind of me saying no to something isn't about me being a failure or disappointing the other person. It's giving someone else the opportunity to do something that they're passionate about. And that's okay. That's okay for me to do that and then not feel guilty for it later because at the end of the day, it's better off for the person asking, but also the individual that does get to do that. And that's something that they probably want to do versus me going in already kicking and screaming, going, I don't have time to be doing this. So I think it's a lot of reframing in my own mind and really quieting that inner critic of
Mhm.
saying, oh, you need to do this because you owe it to them. I don't owe anybody anything. What I do owe is myself and what's going to make me happy at the end of the day.
Right. Well, I've got, lots of thoughts on what you just said. I'm gonna start with balance. When you say balance, you automatically go to this is 2 separate things.
That's right.
And when you have to deal with 2 separate things, it's juggling. And when you go to integration, there's no separation, it all just works. Absolutely, I believe in that completely. Because let me integrate all of my requirements together so I am always the center of what's going on. And then we talked about, God, I'm gonna remember that forget the others, but I will remember them. But, all of the things that you said and how we lie to ourselves or how we don't need to say yes, I reframe that too. I am always saying yes, but I am saying it to me and
Me.
my needs, not other people's. So, yes, it's okay to say yes to you and make sure you're truly giving yourself the moment to process, is this good for me or not? And I love, yes, I can do that. And yes, I'm completely capable, but other people need that opportunity. That opportunity is there for people to grow. And if we don't step out of the way sometimes, we are hurting other people's growth. So,
Well, and I'll talk about that in 2 different ways. I used to think I had to say yes to everything, but, also being true to myself. When somebody asks me to do something, usually I'm like, shiny penny, yes, I'm in because I'm so excited. I want to help somebody. And so I had to train myself to not immediately say yes to things. Say, let me get back to you. Let me check my calendar to make sure I have time to do what you need done. And that gave me an out because I think our knee jerk as humans is we want to help others. So we automatically say yes. Then we get home and go, oh my gosh, why did I do that? And so, one really amazing change I made in my life is not saying yes immediately, but saying, let me get back to you. Because then, my brain catches up with itself and says, okay, let's look at this logically. Does this help me achieve the goals that I'm trying to achieve? And do I really have the time that is needed to really do a good job? And that's been a game changer for me because at the time I feel guilty, of not saying yes. And so it gives me a little bit of buffer and then to be able to come back and say, I'm not available. And sometimes I'll even make a suggestion, but so and so is, and they might be a really good option for you. And that's giving someone else I know an opportunity that I know that they will excel and shine at. And so I think we do that both in our personal life, but also professional. If as leaders, we don't give other people opportunities to grow within our organizations or just their own expertise, how are we bringing up the next generation? And so I look at it on both sides, both personally and professionally. It's really helped me.
And it does. Professional's great, but when you have your personal life working for you, the others just happen because you've now integrated. It's not this separation thing. It's the one thing, and you can focus on that one thing. And I am definitely a squirrel, the dog that likes the squirrels. I definitely get sidetracked and I get into all these little, oh, that's a shiny penny. I'm going to go great chase that. But when I can step back and take that breath and go, what is it that are my true goals? And how can I move towards those? And does this support it? And the second I do that, I have the clarity to keep going. And, it's that curiosity within yourself. Is this going to work? Is this going to support my goals? Because these are my goals. And every little squirrel or penny I chase is possible to take me away from that. It might be on your path and you can chase it until it no longer is on your path. That is that curiosity of how does it work with for me?
Well, and you brought up something great about your own goals. I think a lot of us, we grow up with values that are instilled in us that come from our parents, come from
Mhm.
society, come from everywhere. And then we hit a certain point in our lives, we're like, wait a minute, are these my values? Are these my goals? Or is this something that I inherited from someone else? I think it's important for all of us to take a step back and really evaluate what are our goals. And I tell people we can have long-term goals, but nobody knows what's going to happen in 6 months, a year. I think, we've learned a lot of lessons over the last 5 years that life can change pretty quickly. It's great to have those long term, but also where are you right now in your life? And what are your goals right now? I call it the win strategy. What's important now? And I think going back and reevaluating those on a consistent basis is super important because what was important to me 10 years ago is very different than what it is now. 10 years ago was all about my career and selling my company. Now it's all about my family and my next phase of life purpose of how do I help other women and other people excel, both professionally and personally. So again, it's about what are my goals and what are they right now? I used to love being room mom. I don't love it anymore. I did my time, right? I was always the one that would raise their hand because nobody else would do it. Well, now it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't fit with what I'm trying to do. And I have to say no. And that goes back to the integration side. I grew up in a world where check it at the door, right?
Mhm.
Emotions at the door, your personal life. But when you get home, check it at the door. I realize that's how I live my life. But now I bring my family into it. I want them to understand why it's important for me to work. Sometimes they don't want to go to school. I'm very transparent. Sometimes I don't want to go to work. But again, it's about making commitments and it's helping me achieve the goals that I've established for me personally and that purpose. And I think it's important for us to have those conversations with our kids so they understand they don't think work's always negative.
Right. And that's why I like to narrow it down to the whys.
Yeah.
Work is important. Why? Because it gives me money. Why do you need money? because it helps me feed my kids and send them to school and do this. Well, why do they need food in school and all that? The farther you can drill down to that, the more solid of a plan and the more solid of a why. If you can't get past, I just need to go to work. If you don't have a why, there's no purpose.
That's right. That's right. And I think some of us, we need to reevaluate our whys every once in a while.
Mhm.
And that's something that I never did because I never really sat down my first 30 years of my career. I never sat down and really thought about it. Because again, I had that one thing I was after. Now it's like I sit down and I reevaluate it every 3 months, every 6 months because life changes and life changes quickly. And so, what's my why? And then how do I get there? And what's important right now? And so, there's just so many things as adults. Adulting is hard. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I'm waiting for my parenting guideline book too. Nobody's sent it to me yet. And I tell my kids all the time, just like with parenting, I'm learning this just like you are. Again, perfection doesn't exist. I want to be perfect, but it doesn't exist. So I'm going to make mistakes, and that's okay. And as long as I learn from my mistakes, yeah, we went from failing to I'm a failure. Well, I'm not a failure because I failed. I treat it as a learning experience, and I want my kids to do the same thing. And I think that society's created that failures of failing as a failure. That's not the case. It's life lessons that's going to get us to the next phase or where we want to be.
And I love turning those things that were tough into wins, into those lessons that I know now how to get through that. I know now how to do this. And I always sometimes when you're right in the middle of it, it's like, okay, where's the syllabus to this class?
Yeah,
What am I supposed to be learning? Because sometimes that would be easier,
right.
but it's sometimes about what you said earlier, the journey. It may be kind of a tough climb up that mountainside. Or maybe you're y rock climbing and you're having to put in little stakey things so that you can climb up the side of the mountain. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's tough. We don't go to the gym to sit on the couch and watch TV because that's comfortable. We allow ourselves outside of that comfort. I want to push myself on how many sit-ups I can do or how many pounds I can lift or how many reps or whatever you wanna call it. Instead of going, "Oh my gosh, it's leg day again. I hate leg day. I can't walk. I can't do anything." You go, "Ah, my legs are getting stronger. I can do these things that I couldn't do before." And that's when you find joy in the results.
It's doing the hard things and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. My parenting friends, I tell them the best gift we can give our kids is being okay with being uncomfortable because we were never taught that. So when things start getting uncomfortable, we're looking for the exit. It's so important because those are the life lessons that we learn. And my own personal mentality is if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. And I tell people all the time, it's not about the failure or what didn't go right. It's what did I learn from it and how can I change, whether it's my surroundings, whether it's how I'm doing things. How do I learn from that? And again, I tell people all the time, I've learned more from my failures than I have my successes every day.
Yep.
And that's because you learn something about yourself. And I really try to sit back and self reflect. How did I handle that situation? How could I have handled it differently? What are the things I could have done? And we're in a society where we beat ourselves up all the time, but why aren't we celebrating the little successes too? And I mean, I like to celebrate the small things because I don't think we give ourselves enough credit that life is hard and we're all juggling a lot. So be self-compassionate towards yourself. Enjoy the small victories. And I think that that's something as a society that we don't do, and I think we need to do more often.
Yes. And it's one of those things that the more we struggle and the more we get through it, the stronger we become
That's right.
if we choose to look on that side. We can hate it, we can complain about it, we can do all those things, and there's not growth. Why not give yourself that growth opportunity to be, just being able to handle who you are, you know? And one of the things you said earlier was that, I call it the bully voice, that self critic. I'm not trying
Mm,
to shut him up. I'm trying to change the way he talks to me. I need that voice inside of me, but I want the cheerleader, not the bully. How do I
Mhm.
turn the way he talks to me? And I genderized mine. It's a he. I just, yeah, I do. I have to do genders. I'm sorry. But the way my bully can talk to me can also be my best friend. And it's just little words like, oh, you can't do this, to, if you put your heart to it, we'll get through this. We will get through this.
It goes back to the old mentality of, would you talk to your friends like that, the way you talk to yourself? And most people will be like, "No, I'm much harder on myself." Well, why? And how can we just tweak little things? I never say can't. I don't say can't to my kids because I don't even want that to be part of their vocabulary. I want them to figure out a solution versus the reasons they cannot do something. And so you're right. It's mindset. I think a lot of it is mindset, and people go, "Oh, here we go again, this mindset rule." You know, it is mindset. How do you want to look at things? It's kind of like the glass half empty versus half full. I choose to live in a world where everything's half full. Why? Because then it's more positive for me. Like that inner critic shows up, but there are times where I'll acknowledge that and say, "Thank you so much. I acknowledge it." Put it aside, or I give myself a certain amount of time to think about it, and then I move on. Because I don't wanna be stuck in that loop cycle that I can't get
Mhm.
out of. So I acknowledge it, think through it, "Thank you so much, and now let's reframe how I'm thinking about it." And that's really helped me talk to myself differently. And I do this a lot with my kids, and I own a dance studio in Houston, so with my kids at dance, how are they speaking to themselves? And I love to hear what they come back with, and all we have to do is maybe tweak one word, and it's just like lights up. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought about that." Well, it does change your mindset, and you start to see the smile come out. Look, we can have high expectations for ourselves as long as we're also being generous on how we talk and how we get there. And I think that's being intentional and really understanding what works for you.
Ah, yes. Give yourself that grace. That
Yeah,
bully voice is there for a reason. He's keeping you safe.
that's right.
If you didn't know way back when that the toothed tigers were always in this area, you would just keep going there and more people would die. I mean, that voice is there and it holds on to those negative things for the reason of safety. And if all you say to it, thank you so much for wanting to keep me safe, there's not a problem with this situation, and move through it. If you can just say, I am safe,
Yeah.
that's what the bully voice is doing.
That's right. That's right. And then move on to the more positive. You try to figure out what motivates me. And being hard on myself doesn't motivate me. I've
Mhm.
learned over the years now, maybe 20 years ago, yes. But as I've grown, I've realized that's not what really makes me be a better person, makes me want to help others. What does is me talking to myself and being compassionate. And like, we're all hard on ourselves. I mean, that's just, we're our own worst enemies. But how can I reframe that in my mind where it's not hurting me internally, or it's allowing me to see a bigger picture so I can make different decisions? But that mindset, I think, is so critical. Oh, yeah.
I might look at Chantell and go, oh my gosh, she's got everything together. She does this and this and this and this. There's something in there where she is still growing.
Yeah.
And there's like, oh, but I have this over here. We are different. And I can't compare all of my downs to somebody else's highlight reels. What we see is everybody else's positives. We don't see that bully voice replaying in its mind. We don't see the struggles they went through to get to work today or to get to
Right.
where they're at. We see the highlight reel. Oh, look, she's all put together and
Yeah.
life's going on, where we experience all the downs in our lives.
Yeah.
So you can't you can compare all you want, but you're not comparing apples to apples.
No, and I think it's gotten worse with social media. We only post the things that are positive, and that's why I've been on such a path of being vulnerable. I want people to see the negative or the hard things that I go through because that's real. That's reality, and I wanna normalize those conversations. Anybody that says, "Oh, I've got it all together," they're lying. They don't. Even people ask me, "How do you do it all?" I don't know, I just do it, and I have my good days and I have my bad days. just like everyone else. But I want to normalize that conversation because I think we do walk around, we think, oh, that person has it all together. We have no idea what's going on in their head. We have no idea what they're dealing with outside of what we see. And I think it's important for us to be okay with ourselves. I grew up in a world of external validation, right?
Hmm.
We're always looking for external validation. It's hard because we want people, but I've also learned who's the biggest critic is myself. As long as I'm happy with who I am, why do I care what other people think? And I've always tell people that's my superpowers. I don't care what other people think of me. And that's easier said than done sometimes. But it's like, if I don't really care about what your opinion is, why am I worried about what you think of me? And so as long as I'm good with me, then the world is perfect. Not perfect because perfect doesn't exist, but the world is in harmony. And so I think it's really important for us to figure out how do we get to that peaceful place within ourselves.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that quote that's out there. You can be the sweetest, juiciest peach in the world, and there's still somebody who doesn't like peaches.
For sure.
It's
For
just the
sure.
way it is. I can be the best me possible, and there's still going to be someone that doesn't resonate. And I want to be the juicy, sweetest peach in the world. And if you don't like peaches, that's okay.
Mhm.
Pick who you want to be and be that person. And when you like yourself, the people who don't are not as big a voice in your head. And you got to remember there was a time in our ancient history where you needed to belong to a tribe. If you didn't belong to a tribe, you would die. And so that ingrained thing of pleasing others is going to be there. It's going to happen. But you go, I'm pleasing myself, and that's what's going to keep everybody happy longer because you are walking around with a lighter load.
It's that old adage, put your mask on first before you put somebody else's on. If you're not taking care of yourself, and that was one of the lies, put everybody before yourself. Well, why? Who's the most important person? And as moms, sometimes we have to do that, but also at the same time, we got to make time for ourselves. And I've done that in so many different ways over the years. There's certain non-negotiables in my life of I like to go on a walk. For some reason, walking makes me happy. It gives me energy. And so I make a meeting with myself once or twice a week where that's my walk time. Or if I have something else I want to do, but that's my time. I need that time to clear my own head and to be a better person for me and for everyone else. And everybody says, well, I don't have time to do it. Well, I don't have time either, but I make time. I mean, I make a lot of time. That's where I go through my calendar and go, what of these meetings or what of these things that I'm doing are not absolutely necessary and what are not achieving? And sometimes I have to cancel things and realize that that just doesn't fit right now. But what I do need is time for myself, and I will make that time. Whether it's a meeting, I tell people all the time, you don't cancel meetings with other people. Why are you going to cancel a meeting with yourself? And I think that that's
Okay.
important for us to do that. Yeah.
I don't have the priority to put that into my schedule right now. You really, if you boil it down, if it's a priority, you're going to make it. That's like saying, I don't have time to go to the doctor. I don't have time to go to the doctor. And then 3 months later, you're in the hospital. Oh, do you have time to be in the hospital?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the way it is. It's just, if you don't make time to do those things that make you feel better, you're not going to be able to do it. Like, you're going to lose it.
For sure, and for full disclosure, I have kids. I have 3 kids, so it's not like I don't have any dependents. I mean, I get it. I have a 14-year-old and I have twin 8-year-olds, so I am in the mix of it. Everybody says, "Oh, the kids take up so much time." They absolutely do, but at the same time, I'm a better parent when I have a little bit of time for myself. What's gonna be worse? Me biting one of my children's heads off because I'm not in a good place, or me taking 30 minutes to go walk around the block so I can say, "Hey, I'm feeling energized. I feel better, and now I can go deal with anything in my life that I need to deal with." And so I think it's really important for us. People always say, "Well, you don't have kids." No, I have a lot of kids. Trust me, and I know what it's like with kids and with the work. I work full time. I have a household. I also am not scared anymore of asking for help. And I think that in my younger days, I never wanted to ask for help because that seemed like a weakness for me, like, "Oh, I got it all." I'm not scared to ask for help because it takes a village, and I want support people around me that can help me, and I wanna help others. Other parents and I, we laugh a lot about that. It's like, "I got your kid today, you get mine." It takes a village, and so you have to be okay with asking for help, and it's not a negative or a weakness. It's just reality of how we live these days.
Mm, and it is.
Yeah.
And we have all these things that are baggage from ancient history and from growing up.
Yeah.
You're taught before you even know how to crawl that smiling gets attention and
Yeah.
crying gets frustration. And
Mhm.
we learn that pleasing people keeps people around.
Yeah.
And we're stuck with that. And we're adults. It's time to please ourselves. It's
That's right.
time to make sure that you are the most important. Let's go back to the put your mask on first. Think
Mhm.
about it. You get this small child, and these things drop out of the ceiling, and that's scary in itself. And all of a sudden, the parent is shoving it on your face. If the kid sees these things fall from the ceiling, and all of a sudden, all the adults are putting these things on your face, and you go to put it on your kid's face, you've already set the example.
Mhm.
You've shown them that this is what we're going to do, and you're gonna have a less of a fight. Think about fighting with your 8-year-old to put this thing on their face, and there's not an adult in the place that has it on yet because 'cause they're all shoving them in their kid's face.
Yeah.
Be the example. When it
Okay.
comes to self-care, be the example. When you take care of you and you say, "I have a non-negotiable date with myself, I'm going on my walk," that shows the people around you that it's okay to take care of themselves. Be the
I will tell you, I had the greatest experience happen recently with my oldest daughter. I got inducted into the Texas Women's Hall of Fame here in Houston, and we were at the gala. And they did this video, and my mother unexpectedly passed away a few years ago. And so my mother was in this video, so I thought it triggered
Mm,
my daughter. And I get back to the table, and she's crying, and I'm hugging her. And I'll tell you, she looked me in the eye and she goes, "I've never been so proud to be your daughter than right now." And I have to
oh,
tell you, all of that guilt of, putting myself first or, being part of my career and all those things that I thought were doing negative things to her, I realized I'm setting a great example of being a role model of, hey, you can follow your dreams. You can do the things that you want to do in life and still take care of your family and the things around you. It was such a pivotal moment for me as a parent, but also as a leader that I'm doing the right thing because I'm setting a great example. And I want to go back to something else you said about our friends and smile, be nice to everyone. Not everybody wants to see you happy and be successful. And unfortunately, we think that they do, and we keep them around, and we realize sometimes they're the ones holding us back. And it's really important to evaluate the people in your life. Are they there to help you be better, or do they want you to stay where they are? And
mm,
sometimes we have to make those hard decisions because I've had some really harsh reality checks with that one of not everyone wants to see you be successful and see you be happy. And so it's important for us to take a look around of not just who we are, but the people that we surround ourselves with.
yes. Being vulnerable, being you.
Mhm.
Look how popular Oprah is.
Oh, yeah.
But she is so popular because she's relatable. She shares her struggles. She shares the things that don't go perfect in her life. And people resonate with that. People want to be around somebody who's not lying.
Mhm.
My life is perfect. I don't know what's wrong with you. And even though they don't use those words, we have that continence about us,
Yeah.
like I'm playing this fake role and I'm perfect. But the
Yeah.
people that will be real and the people that will, I'm kind of struggling today. I'm having a tough time getting through hour number 1. I'm gonna make it. I'm just letting you know I'm kinda on the low today. How much better would you feel walking into a meeting when someone was like that than someone was pushing themselves to be this perfect and you can feel the edge in them?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to being really honest with yourself as to where you are. And I've had situations I mentioned a minute ago, my mom passing away. I had never been through grief before. Okay, my mentality before that was, hey, that's part of life. Life goes on until it happened to me. And it was very sudden. It changed my perspective of a lot of things in regards to what's important, number one, but also the people around you and how important those people are. And so being able to have there are days that I went through that I was like, "I'm not at 100%. I'm not even at 20%. I need you to help fill those other areas for me." Because we can't always be at 100% all of the time. So be honest with yourself, where are you? And kind of adapt to that. I had a really rough day last week, and I started questioning myself, some of the decisions I had made, both with work and with personal. And I called a friend of mine and I said, I need you to just be very raw with me. I need you to help me see my blind spots. Did I do something? And I think everyone needs those people, not being brutal with me, but just being very matter of fact of, hey, look, let's be honest with each other. Let's be vulnerable. Let's talk this through. And those are life changing. And I think everyone needs to have those friends, and they may not be the people that you expect. And so make sure that you do have those individuals around you that not just want you to be a friend, but will also push you to be better
Yeah.
and be able to identify, not in a mean way, of course, but identify some of those areas of opportunity because, as much self awareness as we can have, sometimes we don't see our own blind spots. And it's helpful to have those individuals that will help you see those.
There's been a lot of recent things like that that have happened to me where you go, I need to bring this conversation up. I need to be transparent. And it's tough. It's tough to get that. Am I going to be safe? Am I going to be okay? But if not, I'm not safe. I am holding this in. And it's like the, my husband and I had a few days of really rocky, let's get our feet back together. It was tough. And it's like I shared and then he went and pouted and then he shared and I went and it sometimes takes adjustment.
Of course.
You might not feel safe in the moment it's happening, but how much safer do I feel now that I know that we can be honest with each other and still make it through? Okay, we've been married 36 something years, and we still have these moments of new enlightenment, new things to share, new things to experience. And it just makes you stronger. It just really, when you sit back and go, oh my gosh, I was vulnerable again. I didn't even know I had it left in me. And look at what we are now. Wow.
And that's why you've been married for 30 some years, because you're willing to do that. And I think I know there's a lot of folks that won't do that because they're scared of what the repercussions are gonna be. And I guess my mentality has always been, well, look, if I can't be vulnerable with you, you're just not the right person for me. And I'm comfortable in my own skin to a certain degree. And so I want to make sure that you bring out the best in me and that we can have those conversations. And sometimes you maybe weed out people that maybe don't serve a purpose anymore. And that's okay too. I think that that's the big thing is a lot of people are like, well, we've been friends forever. Well, okay. But there's a season and a reason too. Sometimes people are in your lives. And that's the one thing over the last 10 years of really reevaluating who brings out the best in me and who doesn't. And I want the people around me, I think they say that, you are like the most 5 people that you hang around with the most. I want those people to help challenge me to be a better person in every aspect.
So my dogs and my husband.
Yeah, pretty much. The dogs always love you, so that's a great thing. They're always happy to see you. But yes, absolutely. And I think that that's so important, and people need to remember that. But everybody has good days and bad days, and if we're gonna be empathetic to ourselves, it's important for us to be compassionate towards others too, and I think sometimes we forget that.
Yes. And it's like, okay, why is this hurting? What is it about me that I now feel unloved or I now feel it's exploratory. You learn more about yourself. And that's the fortunate thing. And all these things we call unfortunate is you are learning more and more about you. And that is such a blessing. Are you the same as you were 6 months ago? I am thankful for the growth.
Mhm.
It's okay for people to change. It's okay to change in different directions and part ways. It's okay to grow together. Eh, We have all these lies we've been told. If you
Mhm.
get divorced, you're not worthy. If
Mhm.
it's just two people that grew apart or probably weren't meant to be together in the first place. It's okay. Does it mean that you made one bad decision and all your decisions are now bad?
No,
No. You know, I am thankful for my divorce. I am thankful that I moved through a crappy situation to find one that worked. And, I know people that have been through so many crappy situations, but look at who they are today.
well, look
Yes.
at you. You're a prime example. You did what was best for you at the time, and look at the happiness it brought you, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
people like you in my life.
Yeah. I mean, I think we just forget about that sometimes because we're so used to what the negative is and what society's telling us is right and wrong. Well, who made those rules, right? Why are we living by somebody else's rules? It's my life. I can control only my actions and the things I do. So I want to live my best life. And if you're not doing that, you're living somebody else's life. And I hope people start to realize that because life is not indefinite. So it's like, how do you want to live it in a positive or a negative? And I hear all the time, well, we have kids. But what do I want my children to grow up and think is normal? A
Oh,
negative
yes.
or a positive environment? And so, again, it's all about your own choices. I'm not much for the victim role. I know we all have situations in our lives. Again, your circumstances don't control you, your decisions do. And so,
Yeah.
how you want to deal with those things. And I'm a big proponent for that. And that doesn't go over well with everyone, but that's the truly way I believe in.
Yes. And I'm gonna just like, this is the Chantell book. I'm gonna follow this because it's wisdom, and we can write our own book and
Yeah,
follow our own truth,
that's
but we
right.
can gain inspiration through all these people that have gone through something. Do you have to follow their same path? No. My goal is not to change your path. Mine's just to help you shine a light on it so that you can see your way better. Hey, I saw a rock on my path. Maybe look for a rock. You know, and it's just I I don't want to change the where you're going, or if you want to go the express route, go. If you want to go the scenic route, great. There's not a wrong route.
That's right.
There's
That's
a
right.
wrong person traveling the route if you're not being true to yourself.
Absolutely. And that's how I choose to live my life now. I can't say it's always been like that. Everything's a learning process, but the amount of peace I have in my own life when I finally took that mask off has been insurmountable, and I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything. I wouldn't change anything that I went through in the past because it got to me to where I am today.
Mhm.
And, I got a lot of life to live, I'm only halfway through, so I can't imagine what the next 50 years is gonna be like. I'm excited and can't wait to get to it because I do think once you realize your own wisdom, it's pretty freeing.
And it is. I 100% agree, and I'm sure a friend that's listening is like, do I dare?" Because I
Yes,
was in the
you
do
do,
I dare.
yes, yes.
It's one step at a time.
That's right.
Take
That is
the
right.
one single risk today. That doesn't mean you have to do that same thing tomorrow. If it didn't feel good, if it didn't feel right, it's okay. This world's about experimental,
Yeah.
figure it out. And
Mhm.
you don't have to do it my way, but you can try it. Hey, does yellow look good on you? Maybe, maybe not. Does green look good on you? Maybe, maybe not. Black, I don't know. My husband used to get mad at me because I only wore black. Do you have anything in your closet that's not black? It doesn't matter. Shine the color you want to shine. There's not a wrong color.
That's right. That's right. Be you. Only person knows who that is you. So, I mean, you're not disappointing anyone. It's only yourself. So, again, I'm a huge proponent taking the lies we've been told our whole lives and reframing them to make them work for us. I think that's critical for us to live healthy, positive lives. You can choose to listen to everybody else or you can make your own rules to the game. And I'm chosen to make my own rules to the game.
Nah, it's so much easier to
Yes.
when you make up your own rules, you will win
Oh, yes. That's a true
because
statement.
it's like when you play those board games, you go, "Are you guys changing the rules?" "Yep."
Yep. And that's
It's
okay. What
okay.
again, I didn't create the rules to begin with, so why am I not creating the ones I want? So, however you can do that, and again, like you said, you don't have to do it all at once. And frankly, sometimes you don't even have to do it today. But as you take those small, people think, huge steps are what's going to get you there. It's really those small habits that you create that get you where you want to be. And so, even though you may think it's too small of a step, just try it. You never know what might happen.
I'm the person who gets into the swimming pool very slowly,
One toe at a time.
a little bit, until all of a sudden it's like, "Okay, I can do this." My husband's the one that goes jumps in on
Yeah,
the other side. It's which one's right? There's not a right.
both.
It's
Yeah,
what works for you is your right way.
absolutely. And so again, there's so many ways of doing it, but just take the time to think. Sometimes we just need 5 minutes to just kind of think through things, and that's okay. It's okay to take time. You may not figure it all out today, but just start thinking about some of these things and how could they impact me or change where I wanna go.
I think that this is a perfect segue to close out because it is find out what makes you happy,
Mhm.
create your rules, and then live by them.
Yeah.
And if they find out 6 months from now that didn't work, it's
Yeah, it
okay to change
mhm.
again because this is all about experimenting what's
Yep.
going to work.
Yep.
So, Chantel, how about sharing a little bit more about what you really do? I know you have a book. I mean, other than being this perfect motivator, I know there's more to you. And, how can we get a hold of you if it was like, I need to talk to this woman more?
Well, I would love for you to follow my podcast, Get Real, Get Results. It's a quick 15 to 18 minute, depending on what we're going to talk about that day, on your way to work or on your way home. So there's my podcast. Also, if you want to go to getrealgetresults.com, for your listeners, we've put in there a workbook, kind of a starting workbook of some of the 5 lies that we think need to be reframed in your life. Feel free to go there and sign up, and we'll send it to you guys. And then, as you mentioned, my book is coming out in July. We'll start pre-ordering. I'm super excited about that through Amazon or any of the local bookstores. So, and it's called The Success Lie, and it's reframing your reality to thrive personally and professionally. Super excited about it. And again, my way may not be your way, but there's a lot of great, thought-provoking questions to ask yourself and things that you could do to start reframing some of those things that we've been told or ingrained in us to figure out how can I be more effective both personally and professionally.
Yeah, and just for our friend, that's July of 2026. So if it happens to be later than that, it's already available.
Yeah.
And then what's that one thing? If there's just one thing, I'm so busy. You talked about all these amazing things, but I only have time to try on one thing today. What is it that I should try on?
I think the most important thing is I would go through your calendar for this week and say, what can I take away that doesn't help me reach my ultimate goals? And cancel one thing and see how you feel about letting go of that and replace that time with something to take care of yourself, whether it's to go for a walk, finish all those emails that you never get to. But I would just go through your calendar and take a look at that and say, are there anything on here that I just absolutely don't have to do? And maybe start there.
Mm, I love it. I'm going to check out my calendar, see if there's something I can let go of. Because I love to stay busy,
Yeah.
but I also feel a lot of growth when I take that time for me. So thank you so much for joining us today. It has been my pleasure. I love you so much. I love spirits. You would just have that same passion and goal. And so I love speaking with you. friend Chantell and I are not medical or mental licensed professionals. We're here for entertainment. People have been down a rocky road and would like to help shine a light on your path. So thank you for joining and stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.